Alright, so recently there has been a lot of news regarding Dead City and its stance on its release for Season 3 and what does this mean for the show itself and also the broader Walking Dead universe. So in today's video, I'm just going to be breaking down the recent news about Dead City Season 3's delay and what does this mean for the Walking Dead universe. So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. And now, this was posted on X by The Walking Dead World. And as you all know, right now, this is a really reliable source for The Walking Dead news on Twitter. So they said, in AMC Network's quarterly earnings report, Season 3 of Dead City was not listed on the slate of upcoming airings in 2026, while Season 4 of Daryl Dixon was listed. This is not confirmation of when Season 3 will air, but it's noteworthy that it isn't listed on the slate. It's worth pointing out that there was a 2-year gap between Season 1 and Season 2 of Dead City, and therefore AMC may plan for the same between Season 2 and Season 3. That would put Season 3 airing in 2027, while meanwhile Daryl Dixon has consistently aired on a yearly basis. Now, of course, we knew that Season 3 of Dead City was basically promised for 2026, so I understand why fans are worried about that. But yet again, you can see this in a positive light, right? You know, you can see this in both ways. Either AMC, like, you know, they're just aiming for consistency, right? You know, they don't want to have 2 spin-offs in 1 year, so then they're like, okay, we have to put a gap between these two, right? Put Daryl Dixon in 2026, have the finale for that, and then Dead City will come out next year, and also match up with their whole timeline of having a gap between the seasons. I totally understand that. Or because, like, I mean, they just recently finished production, I believe, of Dead City. I don't know if it's complete yet or if they're still going on. I'm not too sure, but it's 100% near the end of production for Dead City Season 3. And it's very likely that they have some last minute changes, right? You know, this just seeing fan backlash online, seeing everything, and maybe, like, you know, I want to tie this back with Rick Grimes, of course, right? You know, this all ties back with, like, you know, their plans and their roadmap for the Walking Dead universe. And if what I'm saying is true, I think that this is a very good decision of theirs. Now, of course, we all know that there have been hints of Rick Grimes returning in the future of the Walking Dead universe, right? You know, I don't want to go way too much detail into it, but I'm just going to break it down real quick because I have multiple videos about the same exact topic. So if you guys want to know in detail, you know, you guys could check out those previous videos. Now, first of all, Andrew Lincoln had an interview with BBC and he said that he's currently in talks to return for the Walking Dead universe. And then we have Scott Gimple appearing in London, meeting with Andrew Lincoln, and I personally believe that that's to, like, you know, renew his contract and, you know, to discuss some terms of his contract to get him back as Rick Grimes. And then we have a post of Denai Guerrera in London meeting up with Andrew Lincoln, and this could definitely be a last minute change for Dead City. What if they want to integrate something related to Rick Grimes and Andrew Lincoln wasn't really available to shoot, so then they had to delay the season a bit. Now, I know that having a few scenes with Rick Grimes, that shouldn't be a massive delay, but it makes sense as to if they want to change some stuff up story wise to tie it into the broader Walking Dead universe that they didn't have originally. I could totally see that happening, right? Because fans have been demanding for so long now, right, that, you know, we want more of a connective story for the Walking Dead universe, and I believe that Dead City is going to be the first one to do that. I mean, of course, we know that Daryl Dixon is going to be ending, so most likely there will be some sort of connection there, but Dead City most likely has a 4th season as well, so if they start to build up now, I think it'll, you know, work out perfectly fine. And if they do make some changes to the story, if they do some reshoots and stuff like that, I think that totally makes sense, right? But I could totally understand that, you know, they want consistency, but I don't think that they're just going to do a massive delay just because of consistency. I mean, that doesn't really make all that much sense, right? I mean, yeah, of course, like, you know, if you release 2 Walking Dead projects in the same year, then it's basically just like cannibalizing its own brand, right? You know, and of course, if you have both of these spin-offs coming out very closely to each other, then of course the same issue I talked about, that these two spin-offs will eat each other alive, and like just because of like fans and like having some sort of fatigue or something like that, right? You know, them not wanting that much Walking Dead content in one year, or just them worrying that that will result in lower viewership, because yet again, fans will either look at Dead City or Daryl Dixon, right? Because of course, us, the Walking Dead fans, we're going to watch both of these shows regardless, right? You know, we're going to see both of these shows and we're going to watch the entirety of the seasons. But then the casuals, right? You know, the people that haven't really been up to date with the Walking Dead universe, or for some reason they started with the spin-offs and then they just see two Walking Dead projects and then they just don't know what to do and which one to watch. I know I'm taking real shots in the dark here, and I know all of you guys are going to say in the comments that, like, you know, it just sounds stupid, but there have been real instances within the industry that companies and just filmmakers and these big producers, right, they just don't want to put out movies in a short span of time, right? You know, their own properties coming out within the same year, very close to each other. That totally makes sense, right? I mean, if Daryl Dixon is a like September, November, October like show, right? Usually it does come out around that time of year. Dead City usually does come out like early or like earlier in the year, so it makes sense that they don't want to rush Dead City all that much and risk that whole fan confusion and just risk a lower quality show. Now, if you see Dead City Season 1 released in June and Dead City Season 2 released in May, so it totally makes sense that, you know, like if production just ended for Dead City, right? You know, they haven't gotten like the post-production done yet, or maybe they haven't even started post-production yet, then it makes sense that they don't want to rush out the spin-offs, right? You know, it takes a long time to put together a show, especially with a show with 8 episodes in it. I think they want more time, right? And if they do end up releasing Dead City closer to Daryl Dixon, it will be a conflict of interest. It won't be good in a business standpoint. So I totally understand if they just keep Daryl Dixon's fall release, right, you know, around September, November, October, and then they release Dead City in the summer for 2027, right? You know, it just makes complete sense, right? Because yet again, like, I don't think that they would want to rush out this spin-off, and maybe they might reshoot some stuff, right? Because like that's a really big part of movies and shows, right? You know, they consistently reshoot stuff and they consistently make changes. So I think they want this extra year to polish up Dead City a bit more. And, you know, like, I know that the whole Rick Grimes thing is a real shot in the dark, but I do believe, like, you know, somewhere I do believe that they want to integrate Rick Grimes and some sort of big connection there. And then there is also another, like, you know, explanation to this, right? You know, tying back to them making changes, that it's very well possible that Dead City Season 4 was cancelled last second, and they need this entire year to make some further reshoots to Season 3 so they could tie in some more stuff and they could give it a proper finale. Now, of course, I don't think everyone will like that, right? I think that with the script that they have now, I don't think they can make that big of a change to the season, right? If there is a Season 4. And, like, you know, I totally get it, like, why they would want to end Season 3 of Dead City, right? Because 1, the quality went down. 2, not that many people really watch Dead City, right? You know, I've noticed that the viewerships have been declining for these spin-offs, and with Daryl Dixon concluding in 2026, it's possible that Dead City is going to conclude in 2027. Then you get into the big crossover stuff. So it makes sense if you really put that into mind, and if you really go by that theory, then that would mean that they're making last-second changes to Dead City Season 3 so they could make a proper finale, integrate Rick Grimes or whoever they want, and then they could make a proper lead-up to the crossover spinoff. Because wouldn't it seem just ridiculous that if Daryl Dixon releases 2026, Dead City Season 3 releases 2027, then 2028 we get another season of Dead City, right? Because of course they can't release 2 seasons in the same year, right? They need an entire year to release it. Then 2028 Dead City Season 4 gets released. you have your finale for Dead City Season 4, and then 2029, probably 2030, we're going to get the crossover spin-off. I think that's way too long of a wait, and they want to get something done. Because recently, I think Netflix is going to renew their contract with the Walking Dead universe, right? With AMC for The Walking Dead. And that's because The Walking Dead has been topping their charts for a long time now, right? It's been a couple of months. I think for a better part of a year or two, right? I've been seeing The Walking Dead always in that top 10 list on Netflix, right? Even with Stranger Things there, even with these big shows coming out, The Walking Dead is still on that list. At least for here, for Canada, The Walking Dead is still on that list consistently. So it makes sense that they would want to renew their contract, and also it shows to AMC that, yeah, The Walking Dead is still a very hot product. Viewers want more Walking Dead. I believe that the viewership hours for the main show are 500 million, 500 million hours altogether, which is insane. And with people saying that The Walking Dead is dead and no one's watching it, I think that those hours and that long of a time on the top 10 charts for Netflix explains a lot. And also with possibly Netflix wanting to renew their contract with AMC, it's definitely possible that they just want to go full force with this crossover spin-off. And the only way to do that is that if they delay Dead City, if they delay season 3, give it a proper conclusion, right? I know it's going to be rushed, but they put out a proper conclusion for Dead City with season 3, and then in 2028 we get the crossover spin-off. 2027 we get that teaser, or potentially even this year we get a teaser. So yeah, I think that it's not necessarily really bad. I think that personally, the most realistic thing here is that they can't put out Dead City season 3 that fast this year, right? Because if they just concluded with production recently, they can't get the show out this year. And if they do try getting that show out this year, it's going to be way too close to dereliction. So they're like, okay, let's just delay it until 2027, right? We'll have that consistency in place, right? With Dead City missing out a year. And also we'll have enough time to, polish up the show as much as we want. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And like how I said in the start of the video, please like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But yeah, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.